Two. Okay, good evening, everybody. We're here for our first budget workshop with the community. And we want to thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Peter Zanoni, Corpus Christi's city manager. Due to, as we know, watching the news, due to the rapid spread of COVID-19 in our community, we've switched from what we thought was going to be an in-person format this year. Unfortunately, we've gone back to the WebEx virtual meetings, but based on our numbers on Facebook and YouTube and persons on the phone and persons that have already communicated today questions, we have a pretty decent turnout using this forum still. And so we're focused on a lot in the city, but one of our key things is to focus on health and safety of our community. And so we thought doing the in-person community meetings would be best for everybody. Over the next 2 weeks, we'll be in all 5 city council districts going over the budget. We know recently I proposed a balanced budget to the city council, and now over the next 5 weeks, we have workshops with the city council, and another part of the budget is engaging the community to get your input to see what you think about the budget. And so tonight we're working in City Council District 1 primarily. I'm joined this evening in this conference room by City Council District 1 Representative, Councilman Billy Lerma. And also here with us this evening is our Mayor Guajardo, and City Council District Representative from District 2, Councilman Ben Molina, is to my side over there. And we know that on our WebEx also is Councilman Pusley, Council Member at Large. And so thank you, Council members and the Mayor, for joining us this evening. We're going to go through the budget with you tonight, showing you a budget video. And before we get to that point, though, we're going to hear some comments from the representative from City Council District 1. But before I turn it over to him, I wanted to point out that the main focus of tonight is to hear from you. We want to see what you think about the budget that was proposed. And as you can see on the video, if you hadn't had a chance to review it, you'll see what's in the budget. And so we want to hear from you what you think or questions that you might have about the budget. In addition to the mayor and the council members that are here, we have about 15 departments. We have about a total of 25, but the main departments like our streets, our police and fire, our chiefs, both fire and police chief, are here with us tonight. So we have a good group of people to help answer any question that you may have and hear your feedback about the budget. As we go through each of the council districts, we have staff that are tabulating and writing down and making note of what's said in the community. And as we have done in the past 2 years, if there's a strong enough consensus amongst the community to change the budget, we'll recommend that to City Council before they adopt it. So you're watching tonight, and your input tonight is very important on how we shape the final budget that you'll see and get to experience over the next 12 months. So thank you for joining us tonight. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to City Council District 1, Councilman Lerma.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Ben, for joining us, and Councilman Pusley online virtually. This is a very, very important meeting, not just to me, but to the entire City Council. You know, your input is very important to us because we need to know what you are concerned about out there in the city, especially in District 1 at this point. You know, there's a lot of good things happening in the city, not only just in District 1, but throughout the entire city. You need to go online and take a look at our website and see the things that are happening. I just want to throw a couple of highlights out there, things that are happening or will be happening in District 1 this next upcoming year. You know, the new budget calls for new funding, signage, amenities to the Labonte Park. I don't know if you've all been out there lately, but I think we planted over 100 trees out there recently to provide shade for people. We're looking at installing a new kayak ramp to accommodate our citizens who like to travel down the river. You know, that's important. We're looking at also knocking down the old water plant that's there.
Cunningham Water Treatment Plant?
The Cunningham Water Treatment Plant, and enlarging the Labonte Park, attaching it to that, and put trails, bike trails, walking trails, you know, just trails so people can enjoy the scenery of the river and all that. In addition, we're looking at, we earmarked $100,000 to begin a marquee project in the Sherrill Veterans Park that will include bronze statues reflecting all of the military branches here in Corpus Christi. we want to showcase that park and make sure it stands for what it is, and it's a Veterans Park. That's where we hold a lot of ceremonies. So I think it was between the council and Peter and the mayor, we looked at it and thought that it would be a great idea to have bronze full-size statues of all the military branches. North Beach, the North Beach, of course, is a big platform for me. We were able to plug in $5 million from the American Rescue Plan for the drainage situation that we have. That's not the complete package there. We're still talking about it. We're out with the RFI right now to get more information from who's interested in that project. You know, in addition, our parks will continue to invest in our downtown area, the economic hub of District 1. These investments include upgrades to the seawall, the Mirador's lighting, the restoration of our water garden fountains, significant renovations of the municipal marina, all totaling the fiscal year 22 budget will include over $17 million that are being spent in that area. That's a tourist attraction, a big tourist attraction for us here in Corpus Christi, and we look forward to when all that gets done. These investments are made in addition to our continuing commitment, our public safety offices. The city will continue to ensure that our police department and fire departments have the staffing, equipment, and resources needed to ensure District 1 remains safe place to live and raise our families. The staff here has been working real hard together, putting this budget together, but we need to make sure that we're spending the money in the right places. And that's where you come in. That's where the public comes in and lets us know if we're doing the right thing. Because remember, we're elected by you. So we need to know what is it that you want in the city. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Peter.
Okay, great. Thank you, Councilman. Councilman hit on several things that we do have in District 1. Appreciate you doing that. You know, often we often it seems or people think that we're not focused on Cal Allen or Tolosa Midway, but we are. We have great representation from Councilman Lerma and the council members at large as well. And so this budget invests a lot in the Cal Allen, Tolosa Midway area. And we're happy to say that. So thank you, Councilman.
Thank you.
Okay, so what we're going to do at this point is show you now about an 8-minute video. It highlights the improvements that are in the budget. So there's a lot. This budget, despite the COVID pandemic, we were able to invest in the community. Our revenues were better than what we thought in the current year, and we're projecting pretty decent revenue growth in the next year. And so what that means is we can invest back into the community. So you're going to see in the video more dollars being invested in neighborhood streets and more police officer positions, more firefighters, more park amenities, and more neighborhood improvements like more code compliance officers and more animal care persons. So the video touches on many of our aspects of our business, and we're going to show you that video now. And then the rest of the meeting will be designed to get your input, and Deanna McQueen, our communications director, will help to moderate that portion of the meeting. So with that, we'll turn it over to the video, and then we'll be back to talk to you momentarily.
The City of Corpus Christi has put together a record-setting proposed budget. City Manager Peter Zanoni delivered the fiscal year 2022 City of Corpus Christi proposed budget to City Council on July 27, 2021. The proposed budget for the city continues to address the mayor and city council priorities identified by the community. For the third year in a row, we are increasing investment in critical infrastructure and quality of life assets, including streets, public safety, parks, neighborhoods, and our utilities, water, wastewater, stormwater, and gas. The $1.2 billion budget represents $258.3 million in the general fund, $238.3 million in the enterprise funds, $133.1 million in the special revenue funds, $118.2 million in the debt funds, and $420.1 million in the capital budget. The fiscal year 2022 proposed general fund budget is $298.4 million, including transfers, which is up from last year at $265.4 million. With police and fire accounting for 48.5% of the general fund budget, solid waste is $30.7 million, street transfer and lighting is $31.7 million, parks $20.2 million, and other departments like neighborhood services, library, and health total $57.8 million. Here are highlights of the proposed 2022 budget. Street maintenance and reconstruction will be top priority going into 2022. More than $121 million has been budgeted for street maintenance and reconstruction, with $43 million going to street maintenance, $60 million to arterials and collectors, and $18 million to residential streets. $2 million for an in-house street rehabilitation paving crew composed of 12 positions and new equipment, $750,000 for Safe Route to School program to rehabilitate citywide sidewalk infrastructure near education centers, and $880,000 for Vision Zero enhancements and internally illuminated LED street name signs. The police budget proposals include funding for 10 new police officers, 5 more than planned. This increases the plan by adding 5 additional police officers for a total of 30 instead of 25 officers over 5 years. Funds and upgrades to public safety computer-aided dispatch and record management system, includes a crime scene mapping drone package, and funding for construction of a new police academy complex at the Del Mar South campus. The fire department's proposed budget includes funding for 8 new firefighter positions to create an additional medic unit at Station 17 on Yorktown, the purchase of an additional medic unit, potable water tanker truck, and hazmat material response unit, and the funding for construction of a replacement of Fire Station Number 3 located on Morgan Avenue. Parks and Recreation budget proposals include $2.9 million budgeted for numerous one-time capital improvements at 10 area parks, $100,000 for the design of a monument highlighting the 5 branches of the military at Sherrill Park, funding for an additional 230 shade trees throughout city parks, and funding for the addition of 8 swim instructors to expand the summer swim instruction program. The Marina's proposed budget includes $560,000 for a marina breakwater assessment, funding for the reconstruction of People's Boardwalk, funding for dredging as part of the pier replacement program, the replacement and addition of signs throughout the marina, and 2 additional dockhand positions to support the marina 24/7. The fiscal year 2022 proposed budget also includes upgrades to the seawall and Mirador's lighting, seawall event programming, and facility improvements to the Art Center and Art Museum. Neighborhood Services budget proposals include 4 full-time animal kennel techs and the addition of 2 vehicles, 2 additional live release coordinators, an additional veterinarian position, 5 additional code enforcement officers, additional funding for demolition of properties that have become dangerous from sudden acts such as fire and natural disasters, and funding for fee waivers for non-qualifying infill housing properties. The library's proposed budget includes increased building maintenance at all 6 city libraries and funding for exterior improvements at La Retama Library downtown. The Communication Department budget proposals include upgrading the city's website and payment portal and adding 4 call center representatives for the new 311 call center. The City Auditor's Office budget includes an addition of 1 senior auditor position. Solid Waste proposed budget includes no residential rate increase, the addition of 2 positions for litter crew, the addition of 3 positions and garbage trucks to create 2 new garbage routes and 1 recycling route, and the addition of 4 positions and equipment to create an additional brush and bulky crew. Development Services proposed budget includes the addition of 2 building inspectors, the addition of 3 compliance inspectors for non-scheduled inspections, and the modification of fees that have not been adjusted in over a decade. The Corpus Christi International Airport budget proposals include capital improvements to the terminal building, expansion of the public cell phone parking lot, and the addition of 4 parking operations positions. The Water Department proposes the investment of $112.5 million over the next 3 years to replace and repair water distribution lines, and an investment of $145 million in capital improvements over the next 3 years to rehabilitate and upgrade the Owen Stevens water treatment plant. Wastewater budget proposals include the addition of 8 positions for wastewater treatment plant preventative maintenance activities and capital improvements over the next 3 years to repair, rehabilitate, and upgrade all 6 wastewater treatment plants, totaling $118.1 million. Stormwater budget proposals include creating a new and equitable stormwater fee structure by removing the stormwater fee from the existing water rate and developing a 5-year program to upgrade stormwater infrastructure, increase street sweeping, and improve bay, estuary, creek, and river water quality. The Gas Department proposed budget includes the addition of 7 positions to support the meter replacement program and 8 positions to support the infrastructure replacement program. There are proposed increases to the utility rates in the fiscal year 2022 budget. In wastewater, there is a proposed rate increase of $1.97 a month for an average residential customer with a 5,000-gallon winter quarter average. For water and stormwater, a net zero increase is proposed to the average residential water customer using less than 6,000 gallons. Water will decrease by $6.12, and stormwater will increase by $6.12. A utility assistance program is proposed in the fiscal year 2022 budget. The program will provide rate increase relief for residential customers that use less than 6,000 gallons of water per month for low-income households, seniors 65 years of age and older who are low income, and disabled customers. There is no proposed rate change for gas utilities. The fiscal year 2022 proposed budget is balanced, addresses mayor and city council priorities identified by the community, focuses on basic city functions such as public safety and streets, and is consistent with city council approved financial policies. Now that the proposed budget is presented, what's next? To adopt the fiscal year 2022 budget, a public hearing will be held during the August 31st City Council meeting, followed by the first reading of the ordinance approving the budget. The second and final reading of the ordinance approving the budget will be held during the City Council meeting on September 7th. The City of Corpus Christi budget is the blueprint for the next year of programs and services. If you are interested in more details about the budget, visit www.cctexas.com/budget2022.
We're back on.
All right, great. Well, we hope you enjoyed that video. That's a summary of the budget. So that focused mostly on the highlights, right? Those things that are new in the budget. And there's a lot of baseline funding in our budget to support what we do normally. And so that's in the budget as well. So that's a nice video. We want to thank our communication staff for putting that together in-house at no outside expense. They did a great job summarizing the budget for you and for us. So with that, Deanna McQueen, are you there?
I am. I'm right
great.
here.
So Deanna, as I mentioned, everybody is our communications director, and she is going to help with the moderating of the questions. Maybe I'll answer some of them, or the mayor or council members that are here with me, or any one of our department directors that are on the meeting with us. So we're going to have Deanna manage through the questions. It's not too late to ask questions, so you can get your questions in through those mediums, including through Facebook and YouTube, or phoning them in. And Deanna, we'll turn it over to you to help start getting some of those questions out to us.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Here's a question from Facebook regarding the public safety budget for CCPD. What exactly is included in the $25,000 crime scene mapping drone package, and why is it important?
Okay, I could answer it, but let's have Chief Markle, who recently rejoined us. I know the community loves him, and let's see him tonight and hear from him.
I'd love to answer. Deanna was a little muffled at the base of the question. So what was the question again?
Can you hear me now? All right.
Yeah, you were fine. You just muffled at the actual question.
Okay. What exactly is included in the $25,000 crime scene mapping drone package, and why is it so important?
Oh, the drone.
Well, it's important for a number of reasons. That's a great question, by the way. Thank you. So moving forward with technology, as force multipliers, if you will, it brings us into the future. It gives us more exact crime scene mapping, very exact, because it uses lasers to do the mapping. It can relieve man hours needed to shut down freeways or crime scenes or what have you when we have to do hand drawings and measurings and all those types of things that we do now. So there's a lot of dimensions where it makes it important. Just the fact that we're moving forward with some technology to enhance our abilities, to conserve our resources and to expedite our crime scene investigations are all good reasons. New technology.
Oop, all right, Deanna. Looked like we
Yes,
lost
sir.
the chief there for a little bit towards the end, but I think I think that answers the question.
Yes, sir. So here's a question for Parks and Recreation. How
Did
long
it come
is
through,
the
Peter?
process for park amenities to be completed from the time it's approved, designed, built, and reopened to the public?
Okay, Deanna, we're having a hard time hearing you. I don't know if it's your microphone or if you have to get closer to it, but can you say the question again?
Yes, sir. How long is the process for park amenities to be completed from the time it's approved, designed, built, and reopened to the public?
Was that just a general park amenity or did it say, Deanna?
Just general.
Well, okay, I'll help to answer that. So it depends on the extent of the park amenity. So a playground installation with a new fall zone is a very short amount of time. I think a couple of months. But if we talk splash pads, then that's a little more work. There's plumbing, electrical, and so it can take several months. But no matter the effort, our goal here at the city is to get them done as soon as possible and get the park into operation and back into having our patrons being able to use it. One good thing about this budget is it invests a lot of money in a lot of our regional parks, to include several in the Cal Allen area. We're recommending things like shade structures, picnic tables, even a splash pad at Cole Park here near downtown. And so we have over 12 parks that are recommended to have significant investment. And all of those, we have a professional team that will manage the oversight of the construction. We use the private sector primarily to do the completion of the work, but we have an internal team that manages their process to make sure they're timely, they stay within budget, and get it done on time. So I hope that answers the question, Deanna.
Yes, sir. All right, this comes from our website. A resident who lives on Blades Street in the Violet area is asking if the proposed budget would allow for repairs on that street.
Okay, well, we do have our Public Works Director, Richard Martinez, and as we may know, the City Council, for the first time ever in the city's history, now approves a 5-year work plan that shows what streets will be done over a 5-year period. It's a rolling plan so that when we finish year one, we add another year towards the end. We always have 5 years. So Richard, can you let us know if it was at Blade Street, Deanna?
Yes, sir.
Blade?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Blades.
Richard, our Public Works Director is on with us, so he's going to answer that question for us.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Richard Martinez, Public Works Director, and it's a very good question. So as Peter said, we put together our first ever IMP plan last year, and we're always evaluating streets throughout the city. Blades Street is on our program for 2022. So it's on our program from Violet to Cliff Crenshaw. So 2022 is next fiscal year coming up. So after October 1, that street will be planned and put it in our plan for maintenance.
Okay, great. Richard, thank you. And look, we were here with Councilman Lerma, who has his IMP document. Hold that thing up, Councilman.
I have all the streets for District 1 for the next 5 years right here on these 2 pages. So, if anybody else has any kind of questions on it or something like that, just give me a call and I'll pull my sheet out and I'll let you know if you're on the list. If not, I'll refer you back to Richard Martinez.
Yeah, that's good. So we wish that list could be many, many more pages longer than what it is, but we know that we have financial constraints. But the key thing is citizens can now know when their street will get done. Is it in year 1, 2, 3, or 4? And that plan can only be changed by council vote. And so that's another thing. In the past, maybe somebody said, I'll do that street, but for some reason it never got done and it didn't, and it won't get done. So this plan, this 5-year infrastructure management program is approved by city council. it's the adopted work plan that we, the city staff, move forward on. So that's real good policy. We're glad that the mayor and city council, for the first time in the city's history, has that best practice now here in Corpus Christi. So Deanna, we're going to turn it back over to you for the next question.
Yes, sir. We have another question coming in from Facebook regarding finance. Will residents see rate increases on their property taxes or other taxes?
I'll answer that question. This is Peter Zanoni again, the city manager. So the city's property tax rate will not change this year. Similar to the current year, we did not change our tax rate in the current budget, and the new one that will start October 1. We did not change the tax rate, at least in the recommended budget. And of course, there'll be time for tax rate public hearings, and ultimately city council will adopt a tax rate. But now, if your value went up in your existing property, you will pay more taxes, but the tax rate itself did not go up. We did not have any rate increase in our solid waste collection fee, the monthly residential fee to pick up garbage and recycling. So no rate increase there. No rate increase in our gas bill. So if you have gas service as well from the city, there's no recommended rate increase. We do a rate increase every other year in our utilities, water and wastewater. And so we're recommending in this budget just under $2 increase per month for the wastewater bill. That's for the average customer that uses about 5,000 gallons of water. They would see less than a $2 increase in their monthly wastewater bill. We're recommending in this budget, and City Council will consider it moving forward, and a program to really bring a lot of services to our community to minimize flooding that happens from stormwater from big rain events. So it's called the stormwater fee or stormwater program. We're the only big Texas city, or really the only major Texas city that doesn't have a program as such. And so in this budget, there is a fee to begin to provide better services in that area, but there's a decreased fee at the same amount for the average customer in the water bill. So it'll be a net sum of zero. And so that's kind of a rundown on some of the fees and adjustments in the budget, Deanna.
Yes, sir. How does the city determine when a stormwater system will be replaced or rehabilitated, specifically the system behind Cal Allen High School?
Good. Well, Richard Martinez, who spoke on streets, is also a stormwater expert. And so, Richard, can you answer that question?
Sure. Thank you for that question. So we're always evaluating our stormwater system. So the best way, if you have a system that you know that's causing issues, you call 826 City, we definitely will take a look at it. But even when we're evaluating the system after a rain, before rains, we prioritize them not only for maintenance, but we go back and see if it's undersized, needs to be improved. And then once we do have those lists, we put them on a capital improvement program to see what we can do is to put them in an improvement process so that we can include them in our project list. This is a prime example, Peter, that I wanted to just put out there about having a robust stormwater program. So currently today, we have one crew that goes around the city to maintain channels like what they're talking about today. In the proposed budget, we're looking at adding an additional crew that would help us expedite those projects and expedite the maintenance and repairs and evaluations as well.
Great. And then, Richard, the long-term plan is also to add another crew in year 3 or year 2, I guess, correct?
Yes, sir. So we're continuing to look at, we're trying to increase our resources. So a stormwater plan is based on how we can improve the services to our citizens. And so getting the stormwater program a couple of years ago, we saw that we needed to really bring back and bring up the service level in this area. And you mentioned about other cities and what they have and currently today and what our need is. So we went back and took a look at that, and we have programmed and proposed for additional programming in years to come to continue to improve that program, whether it's underground repairs, pipe repairs, because recently we've had all that rain and we did have damage to our underground system, and we want to be able to go back through and evaluate that system and be able to, program the repairs. And so again, stormwater is an area that we're looking at highlighting this in the next few years.
Great, thank you. Okay, Deanna, we'll go back to you.
Yes, sir. Is there funding in the budget to use libraries and senior centers as cooling centers 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in each council district?
Well, so we have, right now, our cooling centers are open, in fact, and I don't know if Neiman is there or Michael, just to remind us of the locations and the hours, but we want to be mindful of the taxpayers' dollars, and so to open them 24 hours may not be absolutely necessary. We have kept them open in recent times only to have no patrons show up, so we adjust the schedules and the location based on the demand that we see. Neiman, is that, do you have more specifics, or Michael, I guess, from the library perspective, or some of the senior centers that we use?
Yes, sir. You're absolutely correct, sir. I would like to state that we do have a detailed process that helps us to determine when the cooling center is going to be operated, and it lies exactly at the heat index. When we experience a heat index of over 102 degrees, then that is the decision point where we decide that we're going to move forward with opening the cooling centers. And we feel that that's more of a not only cost-effective but responsible way of making a deliberate decision to ensure that those facilities are afforded to our community. And again, we have many cooling centers to service the community, which includes the Ethel Efley Senior Center, Broadmoor, Garden Senior Center, Lindale, Northwest Senior Center, OVO Williams, and the Sabala Activity Center. And at our libraries, we open up the La Retama, Ben McDonald, Janet Harte Public Library, and the Owen R. Hopkins Public Library. So we continue to monitor the weather and utilize that weather pattern to be the driver for our decision to open up those cooler centers, and we'll make sure that we stay on top of the community's need to ensure that those facilities are open.
And Neiman, sorry, just what are the hours, Neiman, of the operation?
Yes, sir. The hours vary, but at the senior centers, they're normally open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. But we do extend those hours if the heat index is going to be protracted well into the evening. For example, today we're expecting for the heat index to last throughout 6 to 7 p.m. and we decided to extend those hours as well to meet the needs of the weather.
Okay, great. Laura, you were going to say something?
Yes, I was just going to say that same thing in terms of hours. For example, I'm at McDonald Library and they're open till 7 p.m. on a regular basis. And so there's different locations for the libraries. And so if a senior center is not available, then we are open to the public.
Okay, great. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Neiman. Okay, Deanna, we'll pass it back to you.
Yes, sir. All right, we have another question from Facebook. Does the city foresee adding any area development plans in the future for the Hillcrest neighborhood on the north side?
Let's see, I'm not sure if Dan McGinn is on here. I know we did that one recently. Is he? Okay. Okay, Dan, our planning director is on, so we'll have him answer that question.
Good evening, Daniel McGinn, Director of Planning. We have done, in the recent years, we have done a lot of work kind of in this downtown area. Our area development plan for that specific area was adopted in 2018, and then we have a project that we're working on currently looking at the Staples corridor along with the Leopard Street corridor. And, we're continuing to also look at different parks that have been impacted by the Harbor Bridge project. So that project will be kicking off here shortly. And then we're trying to, the Washington site where we recently tore down a school, that site will be a primary location to be evaluated to create a new park that will tie nicely into some of the trails that will be developed as part of the Harbor Bridge project. So there is currently quite a bit of work going on kind of in this area and looking at improvements and how we can facilitate growth and development in that Washington Coles, which will hopefully will kind of help redevelopment in and around those north side neighborhoods. So I would encourage everyone to look at our planning website, and we do have, like I said, we'll have that corridors plan is up now. We have a project website created so folks can participate and provide information via survey. And then that Harbor Bridge Parks Mitigation Project will also be starting here and probably in the next month or two as well.
Okay, Deanna, thank you. Thank you, Dan.
Well, Dan, don't go too far. I have a question for you. I think this one's for you too. Will a downtown investment include additional public parking spaces?
We're working on that.
Yeah, the downtown, I know we have completed a parking study a few years back, and so I know it's a high priority item to evaluate, how the parking meters function. There is a lot of parking in the downtown. It's just how can we utilize it better? There's a lot of public spaces, how you meter it, and then how can you work with some of the private lots too? A lot of times you'll see some of those private lots sit empty. So it's how you can work together with different property owners to provide that different peaks. And maybe you have an office during the day, but in the evening the parking goes empty. So there is a parking study. It's just implementing those items that are within that document.
And Deanna, if I may, and Dan, I would also add that our downtown management district director, she is constantly working and has been working on the parking for downtown. So I know that she is, it's an ongoing effort. And there's definitely effort, moving forward from her. And of course, we partner with her to figure out what is the best plan. But it is something that's ongoing.
Yeah, and I'd like to add also that I just had a meeting with Alyssa Mason today, a 2-hour meeting, and the subject was parking. We're looking at it. The Tours 3 is looking at it with the Downtown Management District. We're going to work with the city staff and Peter and his group, to develop a parking type of facility, whether it be a 2-story, 3-story parking lot. We just need to look at it and come up with some financing for that.
All right, thank you both. Let's turn now to utilities. How will the proposed budget affect our residential utility bills?
Okay, I can answer that. And then Mike Murphy, our new Chief Operating Officer for Utilities, is here too. So I want him to say hi to the community. So as people are aware, the city adjusts the utility bills. It looks to adjust them every other year. So we have a 2-year rate. So this is the year, this coming October for that 2-year cycle. And so in the water side of the equation, we're actually decreasing for the average customer that rate. So because we're taking out of the water bill, the stormwater portion of that bill. And so today our stormwater program is funded with the water bill, and that's really not the right way of doing it. As most Texas cities do, you have a separate stormwater fee. So we're going to reduce the water bill so that we can break it out and have a separate stormwater fee. The net effect for most of the customers will be a 0 increase or 0 change per month. On the wastewater side, for the average residential home, less than a $2, I think it's $1.97 increase per month on the wastewater side. That's for a home that uses about 5,000 gallons of water in the winter quarter averaging scenario. And then in our gas utility, 0 rate increase in gas. And then while not considered a water or wastewater utility in our solid waste collection, our weekly garbage and biweekly recycling program, there's no residential rate increase in that area. No increase also in our property tax rate. So this budget has a small impact to the average residential customer, and that would be only in that wastewater side. Some customers may pay a little bit more for stormwater depending on their circumstance, to include if they're a commercial account or if they have a different size lot than the average or typical home. So I hope that answers the question, but let me have Michael Murphy, our new Chief Operating Officer, just say a few words as well. I know he and his team have worked hard since he's been there to continue our quality services, but also to develop a budget that focuses on revitalizing our infrastructure and making sure we have quality services every day for the community.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. This is Mike Murphy. I'm the new Chief Operations Officer over water utilities. And Peter's absolutely right. We've been putting a lot of effort into running our water utility like a business. And so our promise to our citizens is that we're going to do just that. We're going to try to be more efficient. We're going to try to be better neighbors in our neighborhoods. We've got over 100 lift stations throughout the city. And hopefully you've seen some major improvements throughout the city and the work that we've done in cleaning up our property. And we just think that's a good start to build that trust in our department. So we're looking forward to doing that. And our goal is to be very efficient and as effective as we can possibly be with our users' dollars. So we're looking forward to a really good year this year and keeping things going. So thank you, Peter.
All right.
Yeah.
Here's a question for Neighborhood Services, a two-part question. Does the budget include funds for personnel to handle abandoned properties? Is it possible to turn abandoned properties into affordable housing?
All right. Peter, this is Tracy Cantu, interim director. The first part of that question, yes, the code enforcement officers are there to address property maintenance violations for vacant and abandoned properties. They will address that either if there's a substandard structure, or also just the conditions of the property itself. We have been looking at the potential for if there's those properties can be returned and sold or through the county's tax sales, so that they get back onto the tax rolls. That is a possibility if the property is foreclosed on, if there is no owner that comes forward to be responsible for that property and has they owe taxes for a considerable amount of time. So that would be done through the county's tax sale.
Deanna, let me just add to that. So and thank you, Tracy. So the city council recently amended our infill lot policy, where if there's a vacant lot, a home builder can fill that lot in with a brand new home. The problem with the program over the years has been it's more and more difficult to build a home that's still affordable for somebody that's below the area median income. And so recently, City Council approved policy changes to that, where the city would help to pay for some of the fees that go along with developing the lot. So if there's a connection of water or other utilities, typically the developer pays for that and then passes them on to the customer or to the home buyer. And so we have changes that we're working with our Type B corporation to be able to utilize sales tax to have a pretty robust program, $1 million a year, to help pay for some of the fees that go into that, so the developers don't have to pass those on to the home buyer. So that's coming up. We're going to be meeting with the Type B corporation that manages those sales tax later this month. In this budget, though, working with Councilman Pusley, there is a desire to have a more community-wide infill program that doesn't really focus necessarily on neighborhood specific, where it may be in an income area below the area median. And so we put some dollars in the budget as well to do infill development, regardless of where you are across the city. So we're really addressing that program at two different levels. And so we do have money in this proposed budget, and then we're going to work with the Type B corporation over the next couple of weeks to get additional dollars for affordable infill housing.
All right, thank you. Does the budget include more frequent lawn mowing of our fantastic city golf courses?
So Neiman's here too, and he can help answer if I don't answer it 100% correctly, Neiman. But the golf courses, we have a great third party or private firm that manages the golf courses. The city council I think maybe about a decade ago, did a great job picking Foresight is their name. They're a golf operator that manages golf courses across the region, and they have some of their own golf facilities. So they know the business of running a golf course and managing it well. So we have 2 beautiful golf courses, and we don't have any necessarily more dollars for the maintenance of them because that's part of their business model. They are mowing though frequently, and they do a great job. What the city council did approve recently is a significant investment in the Lozano Golf Course to rebuild the 9-hole executive golf course that today is really, you wouldn't even know it was a 9-hole because it's really not too well developed, and that's part of our problem, or the city's fault, because that's how we turned it over to the operator. But we have dollars in the budget to develop a brand new 9-hole executive course. And then we're working also with that Type B corporation to get nighttime lighting. So this could be the first nighttime golf course really in the region. And that's coming our way very soon. So we do have dollars in the budget to improve the golf courses, but the maintenance of them, like the mowing, is part of their business model. But I would say I think they do a pretty decent job at keeping our greens looking great out there for the community. Neiman, is there anything else you want to add to that?
No, sir, I believe you're spot on. We as a city are very excited about that investment in the executive 9-hole course. I shouldn't say investment, it's actually a restoration. We really feel that that's going to make Corpus Christi an increased destination spot for golf tourism in the region, if not the state. So we're really looking forward to that. And we want to thank the council for considering that project.
All right, we're getting a couple of questions tonight from citizens who want to know if the proposed budget includes funding to address homelessness.
Neiman, do you want to answer that question?
Yes, if anything, I think that it should be stated that there's already funding available to address homelessness. And that funding is going to carry over into fiscal year 22. The question is, how is that funding going to be leveraged to address the homeless issue in Corpus Christi? And behind the scenes, we're working very closely with the staff and with council to deliver a plan that we will eventually present to the public to discuss our strategy going forward. And that's going to be working hand in hand with a consultant that we are currently working on procuring to actually put together a strategic plan for the homelessness effort in Corpus Christi, and we plan on revealing that plan very soon.
Yeah, Neiman, and people out there, that includes a use of a lot of federal dollars that we received in the past year or so due to COVID. And so we have several $1 million to be put into production to help the homelessness in terms of even things like temporary shelters and so on. So we have our own money that we receive here locally, but then also federal and state dollars. And that's what Neiman's talking about developing a plan. We're actually developing it in the kind of behind the scenes right now, working with Mayor Guajardo and some nonprofit providers as well. So that's information that's forthcoming soon to the community.
All right, thank you. We have a question now for solid waste services. What areas will the litter crew patrol?
What?
The
Litter crew?
Yeah, the litter crew.
And we have David Layfield, our director of solid waste, on. But the initial vision for the litter crew is to first prioritize addressing litter along our thoroughfares that accommodate traffic to the landfill, so we can address some of that commercial waste that is littering the roadway. But more importantly, we're also taking a look at addressing some of our major thoroughfares, especially around in the downtown area. It's not litter that's necessarily caused by commercial trucks, but it's actually caused by tourists, homelessness, and other issues in the area. So we'll be targeting.
Just kidding. I'm kidding.
Hey, Neiman, I'm sorry, Neiman, but Deanna, was it litter critter or litter crew? The question is
litter crew.
Litter crew, okay. Yeah, okay, so Neiman, let me just add to that a little bit. So we did add a litter crew in this budget, and this is the first probably, but the primary reason we did it is because of some of the litter that we see in our commercial corridor downtown and in this uptown region. So along some of our neighborhood streets, commercial districts, even things like Northwest Boulevard. So there's nobody today to pick up the litter that gets thrown either by people that are kind of just walking around or hanging out, or litter that just accumulates. So focus area number one is commercial residential districts like Leopard Street and Staple Street and downtown. And then those commercial or arterial collector roadways where litter may spill out of trucks along the way to the landfill or to the transfer station. That's probably a secondary area of focus. The main one is where there's businesses, residential homes, people walking to libraries. We want our community to look great. So this is the first time that we'll have this crew. Their job every day of the week will just be to go out there and hand pick litter, basically, of corridors. We know Mayor Guajardo, Councilman Molina both have advocated strongly for a better looking Staple Street from downtown all the way to 6 Points.
Yep.
I know Councilman Lerma continues to talk to me about Northwest Boulevard, and having clean corridors, whether the commercial or residential, is critical to us. And so that litter crew will focus primarily in those areas, and then also in those other areas that Neiman talked about.
All right, we have a question now from a resident wanting to know if the budget includes funding to add extra kennels for animal care services.
Yeah, so there's not necessarily extra kennels, but there are extra adoption coordinators. So we have 2 live release coordinators. We added one about 2 budgets ago with then Councilwoman at Large Guajardo's advocacy. So this adds 2 more adoption or live release coordinators, 4 new kennel attendants, and some additional resources also for animal care. What we did put in the budget too was dollars to assess the facility at Animal Care Services. We know people like Councilman Molina, who's behind me over here, goes there frequently, as does Mayor Guajardo. And the building was built not to be an adoption center. It was built many years ago when adoptions weren't as popular anywhere across the country. And so we have dollars in the budget to study that layout of that facility and to see how with the next bond program, we can put dollars in the bond program to improve the flow and the customer experience at the facility. We know it's a pretty good facility. It's well situated in the community in terms of geographic location, but it needs a better flow for adoptions and persons coming in to get advice and help from the staff that are there. I don't know if Joel is on. Is Joel on Joel Skidmore, our Animal Care Services Coordinator?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Hey, Joel, yeah, why don't you say a quick hi to the community? We know you care about this area tremendously, and it's good for people to see you that don't get to see you.
So we're definitely excited about the good things that are coming to Animal Care Services. Want to thank City Council and everybody in executive leadership who's pushing forward changes for our community when it comes to our animals. The exciting part is what you touched on, sir, about the live release coordinators. Getting additional positions just helps us get those animals out to homes that need them. It also supports in-house programs that our live release coordinators oversee, such as being able to grow our foster program, our volunteer program, our social media presence that's run through the live release coordinators. And the question was a really good one about our kennels. There's a lot of things that we can do internally as a department to ensure that we're maximizing our kennel space and ensuring that we have those kennels available for the animals that are in need. And there's programs coming that we're excited to roll out that we've been working behind the scenes on to ensure that we're providing the best services possible. The additional veterinarian working hand in hand with our chief veterinarian, Dr. Draper, is just going to maximize what we're able to do and ensure the health and well-being of the animals while they're housed at Animal Care Services.
Great, thank you, Joel.
All right. So we have a question here for water utilities. Does the budget include plans to get the 2 water towers back online?
I was wondering if they're going to ask that one.
Yeah, it sure does. And Mike Murphy will answer that question. we have tremendous investment to be able to do that. But go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's a great question. And the answer to that question is absolutely yes. And I am pushing right now to get those tanks back online. My commitment right now is 130 days. The original time to do that was 266 days, but working with staff, I think we found some very creative ways where we can expedite that using the emergency declaration through the city manager's office. So we can go ahead and purchase the materials to get those tanks back online while we're acquiring a contractor to do the installation. The design is complete, and so we are moving that project forward very rapidly. So hopefully it's my commitment within 133 days, we're going to have those tanks, both of those tanks operational. Okay, so
Yeah.
two more.
Yeah, three more. Great, thank you. Thank you, Michael. Yeah, so part of the issue is getting the tanks ready to be reused. Then the other one, that was a significant investment in our underground piping system, and the city council is committed to that. There's tremendous investment, over 30 million each of the next 3 years on our pipe replacement program. And so that's going to be a big factor in being able to get the towers and even additional new ones put online. So that's a good question. Deanna, we're going to turn it back over to you. We want to be mindful that we told our community we'd have about an hour. And so we started a little late. So I think we have time for a few more questions. To include, can you do a summary question, kind of an all-encompassing one of the desal questions? We know that our seawater desalinization effort that'll provide water security is one of City Council's top priority policy issues that they're working on. Mayor Guajardo's leading the council in addressing this issue, and they're spending a lot of time getting a lot of good information. We do know that several questions have come in on seawater desalinization, so we want to be able to answer those in a summative way, because this is a budget meeting and not necessarily a desal workshop, but we do want to be mindful of those questions that came in. So if you can, maybe a few more budget questions, and then we can wrap it up with a kind of a general encompassing seawater desalinization question.
Yes, sir. We have one more question for solid waste. Are there any plans to add trash receptacles with lids to prevent litter in our city parks and public spaces?
Okay, the solid waste department has been putting some of the containers out along the beaches, along some of our highway turnarounds that do have lids on them. They're what we call a sandy bottom. It gives us an opportunity to place a trash cart there that has a lid. But once it gets into the parks, that goes into the parks operations, and on the beaches themselves is actually a parks operation question. So I'll turn it back over to the parks department to answer the rest of that question.
Deanna, this is Dante, Parks and Recreation, Interim Director. Deanna, can you repeat the second part of that question?
Yes, I can. Well, it's just one question. So are there any plans to add trash receptacles with lids to prevent litter in our city parks and public spaces?
Hi, Deanna. So yes, the plan right now, the current plan right now is to make sure that we're making the best experience for people at parks, visiting our parks and our beaches. There is currently no plans to put in the lids, but that is something that we can consider.
Well, great. Don't go anywhere. I have one more question for you. Will we see an increase in pet waste receptacles near parks, hike and bike trails, and other public spaces?
Hi, Deanna. Again, Dante Gonzalez, Interim Director, Parks and Recreation. Absolutely. That's one of the things that as a community, we treasure our animals and our pets. We're putting money into the budget to create some dog parks. And with that, it's going to come some receptacles also for our animals so that we can put the waste and collect the waste in there.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Dante. And also, Deanna, in this budget, there's recommended funding $900,000, in fact, for 2 new dog parks. So this one is in the Cal Allen Toloso Midway area at West Guth Park. So a brand new dog park would be there. And then also one in the near downtown area in City Council District 2, Shorewood Park. So right now we know the city has a dog park at the heavily used park at Water's Edge Park. And there's also one under construction in partnership with a nonprofit on the island. And so these 2 additional ones that are recommended in the budget will give a dog park in at least one of the quadrants of our city. There's actually another one at Bill Witt Park. So this would give us a total of 5 dog parks in our community. We know that they're a well sought after amenity, and these 2 here will be a good roadmap for maybe even additional either in our next budget or in the bond program. So we'll turn it back over to you, Deanna.
And yes, sir. So we did receive some desal questions, and several people are asking several different ways to maybe handle desalinization here. And they want to know, is it possible to remove the desalination project cost from the city budget and instead put it on a ballot for a public vote or review alternative water sources?
Right. So there's no money in the budget that we presented for seawater desalinization. We are separately, we have funds that have been budgeted last year, in the current year, through a loan program that we got through the Texas Water Development Board. It's a competitive loan. We were one of only, I think, 8 winners with over 90 applications. So those dollars are separate from our general budget that was presented. I know we've had that question before, which is have a vote, but the city council represents the community. And this issue of water security is a big policy issue that the council's working through. They've had numerous workshops to include those, and they're all available to the public to view again. That includes alternative water sources. And so I think less than a year ago, we had firms from across the nation and across the world really come in and talk to the city council about alternative water sources. And what the consensus was from the majority of those there was that in this region, seawater desalinization was one of the better policy options to consider. We know groundwater is an option as well, but it's not drought proof. And so those are some of the things that the council's working on. I don't know if the mayor wanted to add anything to that, to the question of seawater desalinization and just the policy issue of it.
Yeah, well, it's an ongoing, ongoing due diligence. And I was just explaining this earlier to someone. This is, it's something that the entire council needed to be, brought up to date on, if you will, because we had three new council members. But that said, there were still questions that weren't answered. And Mr. Murphy's doing a very good job in getting back all of our inquiries and making sure that we're completely understanding of what things look like and everything that anyone has questions on that are made clear so that we can move forward. But again, I think the biggest thing is affordability, the cost of what that's going to be to overall as a project. And so that's where we are. But I can say that I'm glad to see the way things are going now in terms of desal. And everything that's being addressed, everything that's being asked about before we rush into anything. We've said this, several of us have said this, but this is the single largest investment. I mean, it's a huge, it's the biggest decision that a council would make, really. And so nothing is being rushed on it. I can tell you that, and councilmen are asking questions and doing their due diligence.
Good. Okay, thank you, Mayor. Okay, Deanna, I don't know if there were any other questions or any other comments that you'd like to talk to us before we wrap up.
No, sir. Thank you for having me, and I'll send it back to you.
Okay, great. Okay, well, we want to thank the community for using this medium again. We all wish, in fact, we were all excited about being in person, but given that variant, the COVID variant, we thought this would be safest for the community and safest for the staff as well. So I think we had pretty good participation on our WebEx. We have over 35 people on Facebook. We've had about 45, 50 people constantly through the whole hour duration. There's also YouTube that I'm not tracking here, so those are additional persons. And then some people are watching this on TV as well. So we're glad that we had great representation from the community in City Council District 1. We know that City Council District 1 has a very vast geographic stretch everywhere from Cal Allen all the way to the Bay. And Council Lerma and I, who meet frequently, know that it takes us a little longer to meet because of the diversity and issues that that district faces. So we're especially grateful to the Cal Allen, Toloso Midway folks. We know that that area is changing and improving every day. We have 2 strong school districts there and tremendous growth coming with the opening of the Steel Dynamics plant in nearby Sinton. And so we're glad that we got your comments tonight. We have record of what you all have been talking about. We have 4 more of these workshops that you're welcome to attend. Tonight's was focused on District 1, but it doesn't mean you can't attend any of the other 4. And so on Wednesday night will be our next one. That's going to be City Council District 2, Councilman Molina, right? Councilman Molina is on Wednesday night. And at 6 o'clock, the same forum, same channels. And then Thursday will be City Council District 3. That'll be our 3rd one for this week. And then next week we'll have 2 additional. This is a busy week for the City Council. We have a City Council meeting tomorrow, a work session Wednesday, and then a half-a-day budget workshop Thursday morning, and then a community meeting again Thursday evening. So with that, on behalf of the mayor and the City Council member, District 1, Councilman Lerma, and other council members that have joined us either remotely or that are here with us today, we want to thank you for spending an hour with us tonight. And we look forward to moving forward and ultimately having City Council adopt a budget that improves our quality of life in our community. So thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.